So if you're anything like me, you have your favorite Christmas movies, the ones that you love to watch year after year, like The Grinch or Home Alone, and you sort of get sick of watching the same things every year. So I thought I would make a list of my favorite movies for Christmas that aren't really Christmas movies. Some of them are, some of them are just set around Christmas time, like Die Hard. Well, that isn't on the list because that's obviously a very well-known movie. But it's like that in that it's set around the Christmas period, and I consider them Christmas movies. So anyway, I just don't really see these movies ever talked about. I've never really even seen anybody make a video on these movies. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's plenty of stuff out there, but I haven't seen it. So these to me are the Christmas movies that don't get talked about enough, that you've probably never even heard of. If you have, let me know down below what you thought of them. Let me know what your movie recommendations are for unpopular Christmas movies. I also really like Batman Returns. That isn't on the list, but it's an honorary mention. I feel like it is a movie that's talked about quite a bit though, so that's why I didn't make it on the list. But anyway, so this is in no particular order. First we have Trading Places. So this is starring Dan Aykroyd. We also have Eddie Murphy and Jamie Lee Curtis. They're all really great actors and actresses. I feel like Eddie Murphy in particular really gives a career best performance. He's always great in everything that he's in, you know, Dr. Dolittle, Coming to America, Beverly Hills Cop. He's been in so many great movies, but this is definitely one of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies. So basically he plays a homeless man, and Dan Aykroyd is this rich Wall Street type stock trader guy. And we have these two rich guys that Dan Aykroyd's character works for, who decide to conduct this social experiment of nature versus nurture to see if Dan Aykroyd's character was put in a really bad situation where he lost his job, he lost his reputation, he was kicked out on the streets basically. Would somebody from proper breeding survive, or would, you know, nature versus nurture? And then we have Eddie Murphy's character who is the opposite, who becomes rich. And, you know, they put these two guys through hell, and it is hilarious. And it's really thought-provoking in a way, because you think, okay, is it people's upbringing, which is what I personally believe, or is it human nature that if you're, you know, from a certain type of background, you will succeed? So this movie goes to show that it is about upbringing. It's about the, you know, the situations you found yourself in, the support systems that you've had, and I feel like it's a really funny but also thought-provoking movie that I highly recommend. It's got a backdrop of Christmas. This is all taking place over the Christmas holidays, but like I said, it isn't necessarily what you would call a Christmas movie. So that is number one, though like I said, this isn't in any particular order. So the second one is The Man Who Invented Christmas. So this stars Dan Stevens, and it takes place in Victorian era England. So basically this is about Charles Dickens, who Dan Stevens plays. It's his writing his famous book, A Christmas Carol. So this is a visually stunning movie. I love movies around Christmas time, set in the Victorian era. I think they're so Christmassy. It's a very uplifting movie. It's not one of my favorites on the list, but it's still one that I would definitely tell people to check out. So number 3 is The Long Kiss Goodnight, starring Samuel L. Jackson, who is another actor I think is amazing, and Gina Davis. So they star in this action thriller type movie. It's also got a bit of comedy in it. It's set around Christmas time. So basically Gina Davis plays this housewife who has amnesia. She can't remember anything. She had an accident and she just can't remember anything of her former life. And then she starts to remember that she is a CIA assassin. And it's really just a fun action popcorn type movie. One of those 90s movies, you know, the ones that I'm talking about. It's a bit like Die Hard. It's got that action movie set at Christmas time feel to it. I think if you like Die Hard, you will like this movie as well. So number 4 is I'll Be Home for Christmas, starring Jonathan Taylor Thomas from Home Improvement, which I think was definitely an underrated sitcom, and Jessica Biel from Seventh Heaven, which I think was also a very underrated show. So basically this is a definite Christmas movie. You know what I'm talking about. It's not just set at Christmas time, it actually is a Christmas movie. It's on Disney Plus, at least here in Australia anyway. So it's a movie about this guy who Jonathan plays. He's sort of like a con man type. He pulls all these, you know, these cons on people, and he pulls this con on the football team at his high school. So it goes badly. They end up failing their exams because of him. So in revenge, they put him in this Santa costume and dump him in the middle of the desert because it's in California. So there's a lot of desert. So when you think about it, it's actually pretty troubling because he could have literally died, but it's obviously a comedy movie. It's not meant to be deeply analysed, but it's a funny movie. It's one that, for some reason, I always think of another Christmas movie I absolutely love, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jingle All the Way. If you've seen that, it's also on Australian Disney Plus. And it's just these two guys that are going through all these things, meeting all these crazy characters, all with a specific thing in mind. Like in Jingle All the Way, Arnold's trying to get a toy for his kid, and I would have put that movie on this list. I was considering it, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is a pretty well-known movie. But yeah, and then with Jonathan's character in I'll Be Home for Christmas, he's trying to get home to his family for Christmas. So it's not a movie I would say is one of my top Christmas movies, but it's still definitely worth a one-time watch. Number 5 is Better Watch Out. So this is an Australian-American movie, so it automatically gets points in my book for being partly Australian. It was filmed in Australia, and obviously, as you can tell by what I'm wearing, it is really, really humid and hot here in Australia. I really wish we had a white Christmas, but unfortunately we do not. So for the filming of this movie, it was really interesting seeing behind the scenes how they had to create this fake American looking Christmas with fake snow, and it looks really good. You really couldn't tell that it's actually filmed on a set at all. It looks so realistic. So anyway, this stars Australian Stranger Things actor Decray Montgomery. I think I'm saying that right. I apologise if I'm not. So obviously he plays Billy, I think he was. I haven't seen Stranger Things in a long time. But he's the bully, basically. So in this movie, he plays the love interest of Ashley, the babysitter. He's babysitting this 12-year-old boy, Luke. So basically, Luke is like Kevin McAllister in that fan theory that Kevin is actually a budding psychopath. If any of you have heard that theory, that he grows up to be Jigsaw because he's actually a, psycho, then yeah. This movie, Better Watch Out, is basically that theory if it was actually true. This kid is genuinely a psychopath, and I apologise as I say this because I realise that was meant to be a pretty big spoiler in the movie. Basically, when this girl Ashley is babysitting Luke, there is some home intruders, and they find out that the intruders aren't the people they need to be afraid of. Let's just say that. But I feel like the twist is something that was really easy to see from the beginning. Like, the child actor did a really good job, don't get me wrong. I think he was an amazing actor, but still the script writing made it fairly obvious where it was going. So I don't really think that the twist, the big reveal, was actually surprising. But still, it's a really interesting movie if you go into it knowing what to expect. So yeah, I don't really know where you get that from. I think you have to rent it off YouTube if you want to see that, but it's definitely worth a watch. So number 6 is Just Friends. So Just Friends came out in 2005, starring Ryan Reynolds and Anna Faris. So I feel like this movie definitely is early 2000s humor, so if you're easily offended, I would not recommend watching this. So this is a movie where Ryan Reynolds basically plays Ryan Reynolds, and he's hilarious. It's about this guy who used to be very overweight in high school. Then he loses all the weight and tries to get the girl of his dreams, played by Amy Smart, who basically in high school put him in the friend zone. And it's just hilarious. It's a movie that's set at Christmas time but isn't actually a Christmas movie. But I would highly recommend that you check it out. It's definitely one of my top movies on this list. And then last but definitely not least, coming in number 7 is The Family Man. So The Family Man stars Nicolas Cage, and it's one of his lesser known movies. Basically, it's got a bit of a Scrooge storyline. He's this really successful businessman who, early on, he sacrificed the girl of his dreams in pursuit of money and power. And then one Christmas, he sort of enters this alternate reality where he had chosen the girl instead of money. And obviously he comes to see the value of, choosing people over power. And it's just a heartwarming movie. It's one that I enjoy. It's set around Christmas time. It's not one of my favorites on this list, but I would still say definitely go check it out if you're in a bit of a Christmas Carol, Scrooge type mood. And I'm about to go watch the Muppets, A Christmas Carol, so I'm definitely in that type of mood. I would be watching The Family Man this Christmas, but I cannot find it anywhere. So that's in Australia though, so maybe wherever you're living you'll be able to find it. So anyway, those are my not very popular Christmas movies. So let me know down below if you have any movies that you feel like aren't very well known that you love to watch around Christmas time. And if you could just give this video a like or go one step further and subscribe, it really helps me out. Thanks guys, and have a Merry Christmas.